It's the final World Cup race of 2020, the BMW Sprint World Cup competition, Winterberg, Germany, as we get set for doubles, women's and men's action here in the Hochsauerland. The temperature has cooled a little bit from earlier today in the men's competition, as has the ice along the track surface, but it's still relatively warm for winter sports competition. Hi everyone, I'm Tim Singer. Here's a look at the entire course in Winterberg. This is a track that's about 40 years old now, and it runs about 1,300 meters from the highest point with the men and 945 for the doubles, which is what we will be starting with today. And that happens to be the specialty discipline of my broadcast partner, Jason Turdeman. Welcome back once again, Jason.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to watching a very exciting 3 rounds of sprint racing here this afternoon.
Okay.
Their afternoon here this morning for us.
We will talk a little bit about this unique format in a second, but we're getting a closer look at this track.
Yeah, and we're expecting some really tight racing, especially in the sprint competitions. The start eye is down a couple corners, so sleds are going to get up to speed. And the way this format works, really the best sliders have the best opportunity for success, not necessarily the great starters. 15 sleds in the race. Yesterday we saw a lot of action in the doubles competition down low in the labyrinth section where the top speeds are reached, but the transitions on the corners are very tight, very precise. I expect we'll see some of the same action today. But these are the top 15 sleds from yesterday's competition, so we are a little less likely to see action. But nonetheless, people make mistakes every day, so I suspect we'll see at least a couple teams having some errors down there.
Well, the two Germans who have dominated this sport in doubles luge the last several years, the Eggert Benneken and Wendel Art teams, each of them the past 2 weeks had incidents with crashes. So no one is immune to the dangers and challenges of a luge track.
That's right, Tim.
Okay, the way it will work is very simple. You'll see a bib number on each of their uniforms, and you subtract that number from 16, and that's where you'll find out how they finished yesterday, as they go 15th to 1st. And we'll begin this doubles competition with Martins Bats and Roberts Pluma in their first year on the World Cup. This Latvian doubles team has had an 8th and a 9th place finish. In fact, they were, I believe, in 5th place at the opening race after the opening heat.
That's correct. It's a very young Latvian team with a lot of history and strength within the program. And these are, the first of all 3 teams from this weekend that have qualified for the sprint from Latvia. Now, you won't see a clock until after this corner. So these sleds are getting up to speed.
And they say, Jason, that the sprint favors those who do not start as well. But I'll just ask what seems to be a dumb question, but why is that any different? Even though you may not start as quickly, you still would be reaching whatever speed you'd be reaching when you hit that clock.
Yeah, for me, I understand that logic as well. But I'm not exactly sure. Some teams, it can be a setup thing, actually, where sometimes you set up a sled and it's faster in the slower portions of the track, but doesn't reach the same top speed as others do. And I don't know, it's always kind of eluded me how you can have a slower start but be faster at the bottom.
31 seconds, and it's not only the sprint in the sense that they're trying to cruise down the track quickly, they also move the whole format along really quickly. So we're going to get through this replay, and just like that, the next sled will be starting.
Yeah, they cut down the allotted time between sleds. They also cut down the start clock time for each athlete as well by 10 seconds.
Mueller and Frauscher had a disappointing race back in 14th place yesterday here in Winterberg. That said, they're still in 3rd in the overall standings.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we didn't get to see that start ramp because they definitely had an issue heading into start corner. As we saw, they came out and tapped that slider's right wall. In the sprint competition, you really have to have a perfect run. And these guys have had, a very young team together, 2nd season, but a lot of quick success. So I don't think we're going to see them take over in this run. I think Bats Plume will be still in the lead here. But the future for this team is very bright.
Austria so deep in all three disciplines, men, women, and doubles right now, and only basically 15,000 seconds out, 14,000 to be exact, out of the lead that the Latvians just put down as we get ready for the Koreans. Back to the initial point, Jason, even though we don't know exactly how the difference is made between the sprint and the regulation start timing, we do know that several athletes have benefited from this format.
Well, myself included, no question about it. I wish I had the scientific answer for you, because I'd like to understand it a little better myself.
Park and Cho of Korea, 13th place yesterday in the World Cup. They have a little issue there with that curve, which is not curve zero, but it looks a lot like the curve zero further up at the women's start.
Yeah, we've definitely seen a lot worse throughout the competition yesterday. But these guys, not really known for fast starts either, just like myself. We'll see if they're able to find some time coming down here in the Lavin section of the track.
If you're just joining in, earlier today, Felix Locke won his 5th consecutive race in men's singles. If you want to share your comments, your predictions, your criticisms, your questions, you can reach us on Twitter at Luge Announcer, and also email us, luge.announcer@gmail.com, as the Koreans come through with a time exactly 0.2 of a second behind the leading Latvians.
Yeah, I didn't see any big issues in that run, so maybe that start corner that you mentioned about earlier was a little bit more abrupt than I even saw, because I didn't see any skidding there. Maybe they could work on position, laying the head back, really pointing their toes, but I didn't see 0.2 of a second in that short run.
First of two Russian sleds getting ready at the top, Yushikov and Prokhorov. And one thing about this double start, and it's considerably lower than the men and the women, is right after that turn, there's a big left-hand turn, almost 180 degrees right there.
Yep, corner 5.
Before heading to the Kreisel.
Here we go. This is another team. I know it says Park Cho on the time there, but this is Yushikov Prokhorov.
Prokhorov, right?
Yep. Not known for fast starts, but great sliders.
It would appear the clock is correct, if not the name.
Right. I think that's just the only issue is the name there. Ooh, same issue from yesterday, unfortunately. A little too high on the exit of corner 13. Puts a lot of pressure on the sled. The back end skids to sliders right.
Sort of
and
then
you go uphill and you lose it all.
A rough weekend for doubles luge from Russia, a nation that has put 4 different teams on the podium over the last couple of years. Kashkin Korshunov did not even qualify for this sprint. Snezov and Antonov decent, 5th place yesterday. We'll be seeing them in a little bit.
Yeah, and they were in podium contention after first run. Yeah, I see that back end just rooster tailing out there.
Good term.
Yeah, that's how you know they lost the speed. But right there, see the little too much head on the end, the corner ends. The sled still has that hard right push. Nothing you can do.
Okay, Chmielewski and Kowalewski from Poland. As we mentioned yesterday, an historic race for them last year here in Winterberg. Their first ever podium, 3rd place, and equally as historic, they were on the podium last week in Oberhof as part of the team relay.
Yeah, these guys have been really on a surge through the last 5 years, moving themselves up the ranks in doubles competition. And it was only a matter of time before these guys finally found a podium. I was very happy for them. They're the first team we've seen in the green since the leaders.
That's right. Cooler temperatures, and the way the track did so well the first 3 races, we have no reason to believe it's going to slow down today.
That's correct. We did see it go green to red. I saw some very, very minor mistakes in that run. But like I said earlier, if you want to be on a podium in the sprint, you need to be perfect.
Hey, Ken is up watching from North Carolina this morning. That's the first we've heard from you today, Ken. Maybe sleeping in for a day, but you know, I mentioned how to send your questions and criticisms. Ken wants to know if we ever get any criticisms. And of course, Jason, anyone who watches Luge is a critic, right?
I would think everyone at home thinks, you know, oh, laying on my couch, I could do that.
They critique the athletes, they critique the announcers.
Yeah. I wouldn't know though, Tim. You're my filter for that.
I have nothing to critique. It's good to have you alongside as the Italians are now on board. Nagla and Malaya, 3 teams from Italy, qualified in the top 15.
And these guys, I remember when they first came on the World Cup tour, their first race in Altenburg, showing up 18, 19 years old and pulling out a 6th place result, really setting a great benchmark for themselves. They haven't really found that success since, but it is it's a totally different level of competition at the senior level. This is a great run right here.
They come to the finish. They are in the green. The first team to better the opening Latvians, Nagler and Malaya, knocking on the door of a top 10 here. Part of the reason they stormed, as you said, onto the circuit in 2018, but then they really haven't been full-time in either of the 2 subsequent years, with military obligations and I believe maybe some school as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. And that can definitely disrupt the flow of how your season's going, or even your career, taking small pieces of time off instead of being able to continue to slide and feel out the sled and really just get that full understanding of what's going on underneath you.
On course, the first of the 3 Germans, Hannes Orlamunda and Paula Kubitz, their first season on the World Cup, and they have represented Germany in all 4 races. It'll be interesting to see if they stick around for the entire year or whether one of the other doubles teams from Germany gets the call.
Yeah, these guys, that was, I think, textbook start corner. From what I just saw, they were really good about keeping the sled on the left side down the ramp and then really cutting it into that corner as close as possible to that inside wall and being smooth. And I think that's why we're seeing green. And they stayed a little skid there, only 17 thousandths. That's going to be probably gone with that uphill.
Well,
and
no,
a gain on it.
They
gained on it.
Yeah, they went from 1,000th to 17th and ultimately 43.
See, I'm with Fabian Malaya on that one with the hands in the air. Where did that time come from with that skid out of 13?
It's those magical gremlins along the track to help the home nation.
Unbelievable. I do find myself scratching my head quite often, especially in Winterberg, where the German doubles teams are able to find some time.
One time here in Winterberg, I saw Tony and Sasha, Egert Benniken, have problem after problem after problem from top to bottom, and then ended up with the fastest time in that heat.
Yeah, I got 4th place in that race. I couldn't believe it.
Reeder Keinswaldner of Italy, the second of the 3 Südtirolian sleds, on course now. I'll take that one step further. 2002 Olympics, which may have been the first time ever watched Luge. Leitner, Resch. So the Americans were in the top 2 positions, and about every other curve in Salt Lake City, it appeared as if they were about to turn that sled over.
Yeah, the rules were a lot different back then. Sled regulations and things like that. There was a lot of, or a lack of rules, I would say, back then, that you could set the sled up as crazy as you wanted. As long as you made it to the bottom, you were going to fly.
To the finish, speaking of flying, a good run for Emanuel Reeder and Simone Keinswaldner, 400ths ahead of the Germans. As they finished 8th yesterday, they can do no worse than that today.
I think these guys are probably going to find a spot or 2, maybe even 3, because that was a really good run.
Yeah, you said that yesterday, didn't you, Jason? After their 8th, you said, look out for them today.
Yeah, they're solid sliders, these guys, and they're still only in their 3rd season together.
They had a 4th and a 5th yesterday. But real quickly, let's set the stage for our next team, because they finished 7th yesterday, and you did predict victory for them today.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, Kohler, baby, on a tear for the last couple years. Ever since their retirement of Pens and Fischler, these guys have been the top Austrian team, the guys that are taking a lot of the pressure for this program, and they've really, stepped up to all that pressure. They've shined. A small mistake last year cost them the end of their season due to injury, but coming back this season, dominating these races, and they're almost a 1/10 of a second ahead right now.
First.
This has to be clean.
And second.
And it was.
In the first 4 races, they dropped to 7th yesterday with 1 mistake, but a 31.025 puts them nearly a 1/10 of a second up Now there's no relative term with the remaining sleds to know how that's going to measure up against them. It's a one-heat race.
Well, Thomas does not look happy with that run.
No.
Which, maybe he felt some things that we really can't see. I do think that time is going to stand for quite a while. But if they don't win, I can understand his frustration. If they do win, he's just striving for better. And we are our harshest critics. There's no question about it.
That's a great point. Okay, on course already. The next Italian sled, the third of three. This is Ludwig Rieder, Patrick Rasna. They've had a great season as well. Really kind of a comeback year for these two, now the senior members of the Italian program. Top 5 in every race before yesterday's 6. So top 6 in every race.
Yeah, that's not a bad place to be.
Yeah.
Let's see how close they can keep it to Stoy and Kohler here.
That'll give us an indication of what maybe to expect from the Germans.
Correct. Be fighting here for second with their countrymen.
And they do lose that fight. So it's Austria, Italy, Italy, Germany, Italy. That's the top 5 right now. But we still have the final 5 sleds. This race just moves along. It's incredible, this sprint.
Yeah, I enjoy that, the faster pace of the race myself.
It's literally the axiom you got to wake up pretty early in the morning to fool us, right? Because you have to watch this race.
Absolutely.
Usually at this time, exactly midday in Winterberg, Germany, we hear the Umpa bands in the Veltenskreisel party area. The Wurstwagen is pouring the Glühwein and having the sausages cooking down near the finish. It's a lot quieter here, but we're happy to be racing. And Denisov and Antonov, the second and final Russian sled, former Olympic medalists in 2014.
And current world sprint champions.
That's correct.
As you can see on their bibs. Again, though, yesterday I said Stoy Kohler. I'm going to stick with that, at least for now. We got those 2 German sleds coming up at the end. They're going to be right on up there with him, I think. But Denisov fallen back already. I think he might even fall behind both Italians. Maybe not.
Well, we've seen time disappear here in the very bottom part, but no, they lost just another 100th. So second place right now. Austria, Russia, Italy, the top 3. 4 still to come in Winterberg. Fast and furious action, but full World Cup points regardless.
Yeah, and that's something we have to keep in mind is these sprint competitions. It's worth a full race. It's only 1 run and it's a shortened time, but it's worth the same as a 2-run full race. So you have to be on your game, especially if you want a chance at one of those Crystal Globes at the end of the season.
I hear Springsteen's Born in the USA playing in the background, which is usually playing just as you're starting with Chris up at the top. But the Latvians with a big issue. So this is a 15th place guarantee for them. But they will get on this sled. They will crawl down the mountain.
Well, hopefully, they won't have any more issues. Oh, that's unfortunate. I said it yesterday in the doubles competition. The window you have to get into that start corner is very tight, and to do it correctly is even smaller. Oh, I'm sure that'll be on the replay. It's very unfortunate for these two.
Budramovic and Kalnins, their teammates Sheiks and Sheiks, are waiting at the top to atone. 3 Latvian sleds in today's race, and they are 12th out of 12. That's no surprise. You lose your speed at the top with a big mistake, and you have no chance. I mean, you got to give them credit for the quick recovery.
Yeah, for sure. But the frustration, I'm sure, going through both of those guys. Yeah, they hit this inside wall, gets sent right into the beginning of that corner, and it's a very quick, abrupt vertical, and you just get, as you saw, you get tossed.
Okay, 3-time Olympic medalists from Latvia, just about starting right now. There they are, Joris and Andris Sheiks.
Much smoother settle and better start crew on their countrymen.
No doubt about it. They've had 2 podiums so far this season to go along with the 4th place in Altenburg. They have been so solid the last several years. These are 3-time Olympic medalists whom a lot of people felt their career was running out on them.
Yeah, but they've found some amazing success here in their later career, I guess you could say. Although later is relative depending on how long they stick around.
Well, 37, 35 years old, the 2 brothers from Zagulda. 10th of a second behind Stoyan Kohler.
Yeah.
So back on the podium are the Austrians. Now the only question, Jason, will they uphold your prediction and win this race?
I think yes.
It's going to be tough against the 2 greatest doubles teams in the history of this sport.
I agree, but after watching that run there with how smooth that was, I think that maybe the track might be slowing down just a little bit, and Stoy and Kohler have that advantage. Okay. But I've seen crazier thing happen from the doubles program of Germany in this competition and at this track.
Well, setting the stage as we'll do every week, because this is going to be a back-and-forth battle for years to come probably, or a couple of more years. Wendell Alt of Germany will be the last to go. Yesterday, they won their 45th career World Cup race. Right behind them, Egert Beneken of Germany, 44 career World Cup wins. They finished second yesterday. Now they look to tie in that overall lead, and it wasn't the smoothest start.
No, it was not. Which, I mean, we'll find out here with their time and what exactly we're looking at.
Fastest
Still
speed.
The top speed.
Yeah.
Tony's, I've said it week in and week out. Tony Egert is a magician with the sled setup. He does sacrifice control for speed very often, and it tends to pay off. Right now, they're already in the red. We'll see what happens. This is going to be interesting at the finish line.
Well, we have seen green turn
red,
and back to green. Oh my gosh, a 1,000th of a second as the Germans traced down the Austrians, and they hang on. They found late speed. As you said, a magician. I mean, we alluded to earlier, we saw Tony and Sasha win a race several years ago, finding some unknown 6th gear down at the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we get to see a slow-mo of that start curve again, because for them to turn that into so much speed at the top, unreal.
Well, this is the Veltins Kreisel, and they have perfect form there.
Yeah, they do. It's cool to see both helmets in unison in a straight line all the way down. That means Sasha's doing a great job at following Tony's lead down the track. And you really need that kind of unison to be successful in doubles luge.
Egert and Beneken, the lugers, the pilot, the musician, they have the lead. They're in search of career world victory number 45. Wendell and Art now on course. The 2-time Olympic champions have 45 career wins.
All right, a little slower on the start speed. Again, the speed traps can be tricked, so I'm not going to go off that per se. We'll see what this 17-second split has them at as they take over the green.
Split coming up right now, and they fall back into the red. That means nothing based on what we've just seen.
Yeah, let's see what happens here.
The 2 Tobys with a little skid there right before the finish curve. Will that cost them? It cost them 2 spots. So Tony Egert and Sasha Beneken once again tie for the top spot in the all-time career victories as that team falls to 3rd, the 2 Tobys. Another podium for them. They're down safely. And in the end, Jason, it's the 3 hands down, no argument, best doubles teams in the world owning the podium once again.
Now we're back to tied for those overall World Cup victories.
Well, these 3
beautiful
teams,
position there.
I mean, the young Austrians, the comeback Italians, the veteran Latvians, they have been challenging and getting on the podium, but these 3 teams are sort of a breed apart, aren't they?
Yes, at this point for sure.
At least
I would
until
imagine
you
they try
return.
to continue. Well, I'm not going to throw that in there. I definitely think these guys are the ones we'll be chasing.
500ths of a second, the difference between the Germans and the Austrians, with Wendell Art in 3rd place. The Russians have their best performance of the weekend in any of the 3 disciplines, with a 4th place for Denisov and Antonov. Unfortunate start curve for Gudramovic and Kalmans as they round.